I'm Jose.
I'm Leeann Lux.
And we are Two Most Wanted.
Well, hello.
Welcome back. And I mean...
Hey.
Welcome back. Can we say that again? I don't know why my brain freeze. Sorry. All right, we're back.
Welcome back.
Pew, pew, pew.
We are doing a little mini sobriety episode because we have, of course, touched on the fact that I am sober and we never got into it. We never asked the hard questions to explain to the people.
The pale place.
The gente. My
Mi
fam.
gente. Mi gente latina.
Let me tell you, fam. Let me tell you about this sober life. It's hard. Being sober is hard. I have been sober for 5.5 years. Actually, I'm trying to think. By the time this airs, I will be very close to my 6-year mark. It's the summer. The summer is my 6-year mark. And so we getting there. Proud of me.
We got it, baby.
Mm-hmm. I am sober from a lot of things, but my counting, my 6 years will be sober from alcohol. I haven't done like party drugs. I don't know about you, but I haven't done party drugs in probably over 10 years.
I've never done any drugs outside of edibles. When we had that horrible edible
Sure.
or
That's a story for another time.
Yeah, but that was the only time I had done drugs. I smoked weed, but I never liked it. I don't like the smell of hemp.
Okay.
I don't like the smell of it at all. I prefer the smell of cigarettes over the smell of hemp.
Wow.
Insane.
That
I
is
know.
upsetting.
Hot
That
take.
upsets me. Hot take. Ooh. I could gag just thinking about the smell of cigarettes right now.
Really?
Yes.
I prefer the smell over the smell of weed. I don't like something about that smell. I don't know what it is. Maybe I can acute that to like people who don't like the taste of cilantro because it tastes like soap.
Oh, that's
like,
me. I have that weird genetic disorder.
That is odd.
Yes, cilantro.
Because I'm like
soap to
cilantro,
me.
Mexican food is literally everything, and limes, everything. But yeah, hemp, something about the smell is just so, I don't like the smell of it.
I can't say that I'm like, I love the smell of weed, but it's different. I'm California sober, which is what they call people who are sober that still smoke weed.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a term for it.
It's called California sober. So I will still smoke weed. I don't smoke it the way I used to in my 20s. I smoked like as if I needed it to survive. And perhaps I did then. Now, if I smoke one joint for 2 weeks, that's kind of like, I take it like medicinally. I take it when I'm home at night and I need to relax and melt into my couch and actually stop working. It is so difficult for me to stop working, which is a great way for me to segue into the fact that I was not just an alcoholic. I do consider myself an alcoholic. I have an addictive personality.
Oh, you've touched base on this before.
Yeah, I say that more so than an alcoholic. I have an addictive personality. So, for example, when I quit drinking almost 6 years ago, my next reach was for sugar. And then my next reach was for food. And then my next reach was for sex. And then my next reach was for shopping. Just plugging holes in a boat that is sinking fast. And it took me a while to I would say I didn't get a grip on that maybe until just, I guess, acknowledging it maybe a few years ago. And even now I still struggle with different things. I know when my brain is in addict mode, even though I'm not using a substance.
Mm-hmm. What does that look like to you?
Craving dopamine hits. So for
that can
example,
come in a plethora of
things. So I'll give you a really good example. I was dating someone who I really liked, a friend, and things didn't work out. We stayed friends, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a night where I was like, we're texting and I'm flirting and I'm noticing I'm flirting heavy. And I'm like asking myself, like, if I wanted to pursue this, I could have just continued to pursue this. I said, but why have I backed away? And now I'm like, almost like begging for attention. I'm like, what am I doing right now? And then I was like, oh, you fucking little addict. You're craving a dopamine hit.
Interesting.
And I was like, I need to stop doing that. That's mean. It's mean to use people for dopamine.
Is it?
And so, right. Is it? So thankfully I am mature enough and
Self-aware.
self-aware enough and understand my addictive personality enough
Yeah.
where I was able to express that to her. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm like heavily flirting with you right now over text. I feel like I'm very actively in addiction right now, even though I'm not using anything. I'm not going to go drink. I'm not going to do
Right.
anything
Yeah.
stupid that would fuck up my life. I need like a hit of something to like feel that electric vibe that I always got when I drank, you know? So I go in and out of being addict minded. And now that I'm aware of it, I try not to abuse it.
Can I ask, so when you describe that electrical current when drinking, can you describe that a little more? Just because as someone who, especially with connection with alcohol, growing up in that household where my dad drank and
More than moderately.
more than moderately, so much so that it did affect me as a child and more so as an adult. And I think that's the foundation as to why I've never done any kind of drug,
Yeah.
you know, just because not in fear, but in understanding these types of substances lead to this type of behavior. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want any of that. But that being said, you know, that's something that I find really interesting from a curiosity standpoint. When addicts, regardless of what substance, but addicts describe the sensation that they get from said addiction, I think the only thing that I can equate that to is me and carbs.
I was going to say sex because I describe my addiction. Well, you'll hear it, but I describe it like it is better than sex.
I feel that way when I'm eating a baguette. Like when I'm talking about like
Yeah.
my dad, every morning, every Saturday he'd go and get like fresh baguettes. And I can tell that, like, just talking about it right now, I'm just
I know
like,
I want some now.
I want some right now with some butter. Hail for the sirens going to get that baguette.
Yes, New York
Bow,
City.
bow, 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 bow.
Yes, a baguette.
So I can equate that love that I have for carbs. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people out there, little fatties like me, who when you eat and you do that little happy dance,
Yes.
you're like,
The food's not even good if you don't happy dance.
is it worth eating?
But you see, like you having carbs, right? It just gives you this pure joy.
Ugh.
And it doesn't like maybe you're like, oh, I probably should not have had that. But it doesn't like
Literally.
ruin your life.
You haven't seen me eat a fucking baguette. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Or like
but
my
yeah.
my addictive personality has like ruined my life on several occasions.
I'm sure. Wait, but touching back on that I guess chemical reaction that you would get. You
That
said electric. So
yeah.
can you describe a little more
So
of that?
my favorite thing towards the end of my alcohol addiction
Mm-hmm.
was I was a bartender because that helps.
Hello.
All of this. I was bartending for roughly 10 years. I was still like modeling was still like the main thing, but I would get burnt out and I would lean into bartending. And I was party time bartender. Like I would just do shots all night. I would do shots with my coworkers. I would do shots with my customers. And my favorite thing was to just get to work, pour a shot of Jameson. Me and
Wait,
JMO.
first thing,
First thing when I get to work at 7:00.
a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Me and Jameson, I have written poetry about
Shut
that
up. No, you
liquor.
have not.
Oh, yes, I have.
Have I written poetry about bread? Probably.
I mean, that's how in love with Jameson. That's how in love with whiskey I was. I was a whiskey girl. That should speak volumes already about the type of drinker that I was. So shot of JMO, and when that burning sensation hit my chest and it went to my fingertips, down to my pussy, down to my toes,
Really?
out to my hair.
To your poussoir?
To my poussoir. I could feel it all over. And I was like, there she is. It was
Wakey,
that
wakey.
feeling. It's like
Wow,
it was
that's-
just the devil would come out of me, and I was like, "It's time to play."
No.
Yes.
That's very descriptive. I thought it would be, I guess where you it would stop where you stated, I would drink it. I'd feel that warm sensation. I think that I felt like it was going to stop right there, but you were just like, no, I felt it in every fiber of my being, and that bitch was ready to
I
roll.
was like, there she is. Let's go. Let's go, girls.
Yeah.
I was Shania
Get
Twain.
in,
just
loser.
busting open
We're
those
going
doors.
shopping.
Yeah.
We're going to fuck
Get
shit
in,
up.
loser. We're fucking up lives. We're fucking up other people's relationships. Let's go.
Wow. That's okay. I wanted some insight because I've always wanted to ask someone that question.
Yeah.
An addict, and really kind of dive in to know what that visceral feeling or describe it like. And that's, wow.
I mean, it got to the point where it was like, do I want to go out and have like an adventure today, or go hiking, go do something healthy and wholesome with friends, or do I want to go sit at a bar and take a shot? Yeah, I'm going to sit at the bar and take a shot. I'm going to take a lot of shots. I'm going to get other people to buy these shots. I'm going to do shots all night long. Like,
I'm going to shoot someone.
one thing about me, a pool table, hate to see me coming, because I was going to play pool all night
okay.
and do shots and hang with the best of them. Like, probably a bunch of other dudes that were drinking whiskey.
When you say shots, how many are we talking about here?
While I was working, I could easily go for like 8 shots that night, and probably.
And we're talking about solid, like, because bartending,
like fully over
it's not
poured
teeny
shots.
tiny. Yeah, exactly. Like over poured
Whiskey,
shots. Like,
yeah.
We're talking about like practically.
Because I would, towards the end of my drinking, I would keep up with like my work husband, who is easily twice my size. You know, a whole ass man that I used to drink with.
Where he at?
Yes. Oh, Mike. You would love Mike. You would love Mike. I
Mike.
would. But we would go shot. Mike would tell you. We would go shot for shot all night. Oh, we ran out of JMO. Well, Red Stag, there it is. Like, we were just brown liquor. Just go, go, go. And still be able to fully count out our drawers perfectly at the end of the night. Having conversations with everyone, clean up the bar. Excellent. Like, highly functioning alcoholic. My friends, my coworkers, no one knew that I was having a problem with alcohol. But like,
did you know you were having a problem with alcohol at that point?
The last year that I was drinking, I kept telling myself that I needed to stop. Year and a half, I kept telling myself I needed to stop. There were times where like I went to events with friends, and it was supposed to be like a fun, chill event where you have a couple of drinks and a good time and conversation. And I was like, yeah, I'm showing up drunk, having a great time, not remembering anything about this event. Hopefully I didn't piss anyone off. Getting home somehow, waking up and being like, oh, there are pictures. Oh, what was I doing last night? And no one can tell that I was fucked up. They're like, oh my God, remember we were talking to those people and then you said that thing and it was really funny? I'm like, I don't remember being there. That's called blackout drunk.
Yeah.
So I was blackout drunk, but no one else could tell. Which is also dangerous because people would just hand me their car keys and be like, you're good to drive, right? And I was like, no. No, I'm not at all.
Oh, that's right. You drove.
I
Still
drove a lot.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm a driver. I drove a lot. And so it got to the point at least where there wasn't one situation where I drove myself. I was blasted. And I drove myself from one part of Westchester to another, getting on a highway. It was like 3 a.m. and thank God there were like no cars out. There's no way I was staying in a lane.
Wow.
I got to a point where I was hysterically crying while driving.
This is the same night of driving?
The same night.
Jesus.
I was hysterically crying while driving because my brain was screaming at me to pull over, and my body just wouldn't listen. My body was like, we just have to get home and it'll be fine. And my brain was like, pull over, you're going to kill someone or yourself. And I didn't listen. And I was like, I need to stop drinking. This is a real... I parked in my spot, and I just was bawling. And I was like, you need to fucking stop. This is terrifying. This is a problem.
Yeah.
And I still didn't stop for like a year.
For a full
I just stopped
year.
driving on nights like that. I just started taking Uber, and I had like a $300 a month Uber bill.
Jesus.
And that night, before I drove drunk, I was out with friends. I thought we would be out late. It was already 3 a.m. I thought we would be out later enough for me to get coffee and sober up. The friends I was with were a couple. They were crazy drunk, arguing with each other, left me at this bar that I didn't really know. And I'm sitting at the bar, and I'll never forget, the bartender's name was Virginia. Virginia probably saved my life that night. When my friends left, these guys who were playing at the pool table came over and were circling me like a pack of wolves. And one of them was trying to convince me to go upstairs to his apartment with him. And I wasn't blackout drunk, but I was stumbling drunk. Where like, if he would have guided me that way, I could have convinced myself that it was better than driving. I could have gone that route.
Yeah.
And that would have been a really bad and ugly situation. They were circling me, talking to me. I was trying to ignore them. Virginia had put water in front of me because she knew that I did not want any more alcohol. And she was like, she told them to fuck off and that I was fine and to keep drinking water. So it was thanks to Virginia at this little hole in the wall bar in like Mount Vernon that I just didn't get like preyed on completely by these dudes. But then I just wanted to leave so bad that I drove home drunk and somehow made it home and still drank for a year.
Well, some people, I mean,
I wasn't tired of getting myself into shitty situations. I was like, no, we're not done yet. We can control this. We can drink less. We can have, alcohol less often. And those are just lies.
The story of, I mean, I've
Most
certainly
addicts.
had, but even still, I think most people, for example, I've had a similar situation, much like the one that you're describing. Granted, I was never a heavy drinker. I also bartended for years. And I think it's just the ritual of any bartender, maybe in New York, maybe around the world, I'm not sure, where, you drink after work, that you get together and you drink and shots. I was also not a Jameson, but I was certainly whiskey.
Yeah.
And it depended on the type of day I was having. So I can never pronounce this whiskey. It starts with an O. I think it's a German brand. I'm not sure. But it's a 12-year, and it would burn.
Yeah.
And I would drink it specifically when I was having a rough day. Like if I wanted to emotionally cut
you wanna
myself.
feel that pain,
I wanted
man.
to feel that pain.
The same way I love getting tattoos. I love the pain in a tattoo. It's
Interesting.
something about it that's cathartic.
I don't have any tattoos.
I loved the pain that I felt from the whiskey. It was like, and it would bring that demon out, and that demon, ooh, she was a party. She was such a party. Everyone loved her. She was so fun.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I identify it as a different entity because when I got sober, I was like, oh, I am way less fun. In fact, I am so socially awkward. And now I actually find that I have social anxiety. And then that was rough. So getting sober was rough. And then we had a pandemic. And I was like, oh, well, I can't go out and be tempted by alcohol, so I'm just going to be home all the time. And that made it super easy for me. Some people broke their sobriety in the pandemic. Mine thrived because I just got to do whatever the hell I wanted to do all day, every day.
Oh.
I was on OnlyFans. I was supporting myself entirely from home, and I had no social pressure to drink. So it made it easier for me to get sober and stay sober. But then when the world opened back up, and we came back to life in 2021 and 2022, and I was in social settings with people drinking, I was so awkward and so uncomfortable. And my favorite thing that I've learned in my sobriety is that now I can drive whenever I want because I don't have to worry about being under the influence. And when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I just fucking leave. So if we're going to an event and you're just like, oh, it's okay, I'll drive. I'm like, absolutely not. I'll meet you there. I will drive because I'm going to leave whenever the fuck I feel like it. That is my one joy. There's many, but that's one joy of being sober that helps me to stay sober. When I feel anxious or feel pressure or feel any kind of, I really don't want to be here. I used to drink through that.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
awkwardness.
And now that I don't drink through that, I'm like, no, I can just listen to my gut and remove myself from this whole situation. And so that's just a blessing. It's just absolute the Irish goodbye. It used to be Irish whiskey, and now it's the Irish goodbye.
I love a good Irish goodbye.
Love
I do
it.
that all the time, sober or wasn't sober.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so again, kind of going back, bartending. Didn't drink a lot, just drank, I guess, standard. Like to me, I would have my drink of choice was always, depending on how I felt, but it was always whiskey.
Yeah.
On the rocks or neat. On the rocks if I wanted something cool, like something like literally cool, or if I wanted something neat, it's because I wanted to savor it. I would never shoot it.
Yeah.
But I would definitely drink a lot of it. And then if I wanted something sweet, like a dessert cocktail, it'd be like an old fashioned or something like that.
Okay.
And that my max would be 4, which is a lot. And,
Yeah, it's more than moderate, but at least you had like a max, you know?
right. And funny enough,
Because I did not have a limit.
my it was interesting because I would listen to my body to a degree. At the time, I didn't have that kind of full understanding of my body the way that I do now, where I listen to it and I know the signs when my body's like, no, we should stop,
Yeah.
or this is not good, or let's not do that. Back then, I had an awareness of it, but I never fully listened to it. I was like, well, I think it's just my body being my body. I think I'm fine.
Right.
And never, I'd blacked out maybe once, but it was only because I had mixed two things together that weren't supposed to be mixed by accident. And I got really drunk, and I remember just trying to sober up. Like that story is old as time. You know, you sit
Yeah.
yourself down, you try to have a conversation, sober up, get, that. But going back to a moment where the world changed for me and I viewed alcohol differently. Granted, I have that background with my dad, and on a lot of my dad's side of the family, they do drink a lot. Like a lot of them do have a problem. I did lose an uncle to alcoholism.
Same.
And even
Yeah.
then, family members acknowledged it and yet still continue the same lifestyle. And so much like what you were saying, where, you have this rude awakening and yet it took you a year later, right? I have my entire life as a portrait to look at and still was like, well, I also drank. And granted,
Yeah.
I never got to a place because I never thought, oh, well, I don't have a problem. It's not an issue. And then one night, this was, I think maybe 3 years ago, where I went out to see my friend Sarah, and we had pizza, so carbs,
Yes, carbs.
doing a little happy dance with carbs, and we had, between the two of us, we finished a bottle of wine,
Yeah.
and then the bartender gave me an old-fashioned. Now, this was during the summer-ish, where I would ride my bike. So I rode my bike to the destination where we were, and to ride from said location back to my apartment was on a bike maybe 45 minutes. Because
Yeah.
I'm never a speedster. I take my time, right? So I'm never like in a rush to get home. I'm not one of those crazy bike people. And I remember I left my bike at her place. So walking from the pizzeria bar place to hers, I remember feeling the sensation of being tipsy,
Yeah.
right? But mind you, I'm still going to ride my bike home, right? So I get to her place, grab my bike, put on my ear pods, and I had to go through Battery Park, which is basically the waterfront between the Bronx, what? Brooklyn and Manhattan. And so I'm riding my bike. I'm fine. I've driven tipsy before, drunk, but I've always never been in a place of being blackout,
Yeah.
and much less because I never liked this. The one thing that I never liked about being drunk
Yeah.
was that sensation of delayed reactions. I never liked it. Always, the fact that I couldn't control my body or there was this delayed reaction always freaked me out.
Right.
So I never drank to that place. When it would happen by accident was those rude awakenings of like, be more mindful of how much you're drinking and what you're drinking so you
Yeah.
don't make the same mistake twice. So that being said, I get on my bike, put on my AirPods, I'm listening to music, I'm riding the bike, it's warm, whatever. At some point, I fell asleep on the bike. And next thing I knew, I was on the ground. I had smacked my head against cobblestone. And I remember that moment because it was literally a wake up. Like I woke up when I hit the rock.
Yeah.
And I remember
Which could have killed you.
could have, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that as a form of a question, as if it killed me. You're talking to a ghost right now. I hit the pavement. That woke me up, the literal shock. And I woke up. I was on the ground. The bike was on top of me. And I had just like a regular city bike, single speed. Anyway, I wake up. I'm disoriented because I'm like, where am I? Am I on the street? Why am I on the street? So many questions are trying to fill in the gaps. I remember there was a car behind me, and I'm like, did I hit a car? Did a car hit me? Like, I didn't know what was happening. But I remember thinking, I just need to get back up, get back on the bike, and go. And when I got up, I stumbled because I was disoriented.
Yeah.
Fell against the car, eventually got back on the bike, and continued riding.
Ugh.
That wasn't even halfway home when this happened.
Oh my God.
So at this point, I remember there were flashes of almost memory, like
Yeah.
where I'm on the bike. I've been down this route because it's a bike route many times, hundreds of times. So you almost have this muscle memory to it. So I'm going, and it's not linear. There are turns, there are everything you can imagine. And yet I was going home on this bike and I don't remember. There's flashes of me still on the bike. I remember wiping my head from where I had, point of impact and bleeding. And mind you, I was wearing all white that evening. So that was great. So I kept thinking, I have to get home. I'm bleeding. How am I going to get white or blood off of white clothes? Eventually get my ass home, get to my apartment. And there was this moment of shame of like, wow, you fell, you fucked up.
Yeah.
And how do we remedy this? I go and I look at the mirror and I'm bloodied, like from the chin all over. Maybe it wasn't wise because someone told me this wasn't wise. Maybe it was you. I don't remember. I went and took a hot bath just to soothe because I had fallen. I had scraped my knee and all of the things. So I'm in the shower, or not shower, in the bath, a hot bath, just like relaxing, coming to like, this had never happened to me before. I'd never been in this kind of situation. And didn't think much of it other than I'm fucking hurt and you're an idiot. Like, how did you fall asleep? Like, what happened? And I was really scared because I didn't know at what point I fell asleep. It wasn't as if I was riding the bike and at some point I'm like, oh, I'm sleepy. Let me close my eyes for a second.
You're like, do I have a concussion now? What's happening?
So I get out of the bath and I go to pee and I start peeing blood. And I'm freaked out because never in my life has this ever happened. I've never had thankfully, knock on wood, UTI, none of that. I don't know any of, this is so unfamiliar territory to me.
Yeah.
And this is around 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning when this is happening. And this is after, is it after COVID? I think it was after COVID. And I'm like, I have to go to a hospital. And no urgent care. I have a couple urgent cares in my neighborhood. None of them are open. I have to go to an actual hospital. So I go to the hospital and completely transparent. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I fell on my bike. I had a couple of drinks and I think I blacked out and I hit a car. So they kept me there from 3 in the morning to 7 a.m. And in all the while, they couldn't.
And you called me.
I called you. Oh, and the reason why I called you was fucking scary. So all the while that I got all the things done. I had a hairline fracture right underneath my eye. To what they said to me was like, thanks, Mom, by the way. She was like, because of your high cheekbones, that saved your eye.
Yeah.
Because you would have lost your whole eye.
Oh, my God.
And
yes, high cheekbones for the win.
Right? So I consider myself to be a vain person to a degree. Right. So the idea of I've been on this entire journey of just accepting my nose, accepting my face for what it is and never wanting to change it. And then to be at a place of acceptance and then on the brink of losing it. I was just
I'm going to lose all this beauty? Absolutely not.
Not on this one, not on this here day. But it became real. I was like, I could have lost my eye.
Yeah.
And I have a hairline fracture. Like, what does that mean? Like, I've broken my arm once because I fell, and thankfully that's been it. I've never had, so to have something like that, like, what does this mean? So then on top of that, they sent me back. I was fine. Oh, my hand was fucked up. I think I have a scar. Can't see it. It healed very nicely, thank God. Had a scar on my hand, my foot. They checked everything. I was fine. I had no concussion, which is great. But the one thing they couldn't figure out is why are you peeing blood? And I'm like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. But the crazier thing that they couldn't wrap their mind because they said everything that I was essentially, the reason I should be in pain. And I'm like, I feel nothing. I have no pain in my side. I have no pain other than the anxiety that I have right now. And they couldn't figure it out. So at some point, they're like, we're going to have to test you. We're going to have to put a tube in your dick and do that. And so as they were prepping for that, this nurse comes over, because I had several nurses, and this must have been the morning shift turn, and she comes over, and Caribbean woman, she had a Caribbean accent. I'm not going to mimic it, even though I could, but I know that's, I don't know, not appropriate. But she says, "Is there anyone you want to call right now?" And I said, "No, why?" Because I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And my parents were in Mexico at the time on vacation. So I'm not going to, my mom is the type of person that you don't call in a crisis, because she will make it worse.
Absolutely. Same.
And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to call them. A, and B, for what reason? Because they're in Mexico. They're not going
Right. And you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like, well, I think you should call somebody, because, the exam is going to come up and we have to put you under. And sometimes people don't come back.
Oh my God. That's very
Verbatim.
rare, but like, wow.
Verbatim. She was like, people just don't come back.
That's terrifying.
And
She's a shitty nurse. Who says that?
She did.
Not like that.
And
Damn.
my first thought was, oh, well, if I don't come back, how unfortunate, like how fucked up would it be for my parents to find out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have no idea what's happening. They have no idea. My mom, she knows that I drink, but nowhere, like my mom, being that my mom has always been sober. My mom has never drank. My mom has had a glass of wine.
Yeah. So that would be a tough
pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So then, of course, that's when I called you. And so
you're like, her drunk ass will understand.
Well,
I'm like, oh, honey, been there, done that.
Well, also, you were the only person that I knew would presently be there.
Yeah.
At the time, my friend circle wasn't as developed as it is now, but you were the only one. So I was just like, who else am I going to call? So anyway.
You called the right person.
For sure. Like the one person that would know.
Zero judgment.
So, after that, very long story short, after that, I tried being sober, because much like when someone goes out drinking, at least this has been my experience, where you go out for a night, you get fucked up, and you're like, I don't want to see liquor for like a week.
I'm done drinking.
I'm done.
And then I drink the next day.
And you leave. And I would at least wait a week before I would drink again. So this was the same culmination, but like on a grander spectrum.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm not drinking. And so I went sober for, I believe it was close to a month. And it wasn't difficult because I didn't have that connection to it, but I missed the taste of it. Like I missed the actual, like, I love a glass of red with a steak.
Yeah.
I would be that kind of body conscious bodybuilder, if you will. I use that term loosely, where I'm like, I'm not going to have cake, because I'm going to have sugar in my old fashioned.
Right,
right. That's
negotiating your sugars. Yeah.
Like that. And so I started to miss that. And then there was a moment where I thought, can I be mindful enough about responsible drinker?
A normal person.
Yeah. And after that, I did. I really was able to navigate it now, where I can differentiate. I no longer do nights of drinking like I would have. And I realize how boring it is, to be quite frank.
You realize you're not, you don't have an addictive personality. You're not addict-minded. You are capable of moderation, which is a beautiful thing.
And I didn't think I could be after something like that, because that really opened up my eyes of, fuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm extremely lucky. And it humbled you so quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. When I hear people's sobriety stories, I am like so humbled at the fact that, I feel like I feel like my demon, because that's what we call like addiction. I feel like my addiction demon like got away with it almost, because I stopped before it was too late. Although I will say that I do feel like alcohol paralyzed my life for the better part of 10 years. I think that I would have been farther ahead in things that I want and need in my life if it wasn't because alcohol had a chokehold on me. But I like the fact that, and I'm grateful for the fact that I didn't do too much damage. There was definitely relationship damage that I made as many amends as I possibly could for.
Yeah.
And Not that it makes it better, but those people, because I was an addict that was attracted to other addicts that we've discussed in previous episodes, those people had also either owed me an apology or also apologized. I wasn't really apologizing to someone that was scot-free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it made it easier to do. It was just like, hey, we both had problems. Look at that. I just found out about mine now. You know, but so I was able to do that. But I'm so grateful that I didn't completely ruin my life before I caught it. You know, and I know so many people that were not that fortunate, that had horrific life-altering events that led them down this road.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that we get to sort of sit in the same room, so to speak. Now, I don't do AA, but I do have like a sober group of friends. I have like a sense of sober community, if you will, that we can just kind of joke about certain things. Like you definitely develop a very dark sense of humor as a sober person, and we're able to kind of lean on each other, laugh together, cry together, have that kind of thing going on. And my most recent battle now is that this is the first time in my life this last year that I'm dating women sober. All my relationships, I was either in party nightlife mode, there was some drugs involved, alcohol involved, or a lot of alcohol involved. So navigating the dating world of women sober is really tricky for me. And I'm learning that I have insecurities that I didn't realize I had. I'm learning that I've had worthiness issues that I didn't realize I have. So that's kind of where I'm at now, working through that in therapy. But it's been a journey, and I'm happy to we're almost on 6 years.
Congrats, babe.
Thanks. This is our little sober intro episode, but there's certainly more that we can delve into at a later date.
For sure.
How do we do this? Goodbye.
Thank you for watching. We put out new episodes every Tuesday on Spotify, and new visual episode every Friday right here on YouTube. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, goodbye.